creating new traditions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know, of course, many people grow up with various traditions around the holidays. Some people don't grow up really with very many at all, but there are some that
Mm-hmm.
grow up with traditions. And maybe not just going, with some of the traditions you've grown up with, but just creating a new tradition, right? So you're
Yeah.
not constantly thinking about, oh, we used to do this,
Yeah.
we used to
Oh,
do this as a family.
yeah.
That's one of the things. It's like, no, start your own
Yeah,
traditions.
welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Wisdom in Bloom, the podcast that brings you Dee and Miss Kamisha as we talk to you guys and share our knowledge and share our resources and our strategies and our tips and great guests for women of a certain age as we are navigating life, as we are looking and diving into self-care, self-awareness, all the things that make us who we are, all the things that make us transform and transition into, that age where some people look at it as doom and gloom, but we are looking at it as blooming, ladies, blooming, right, Kamisha?
Yes, we are blooming, and this is a great time of year for many people because we are
Yeah.
in the holiday season where many people find this to be their favorite time of year. They
Mm-hmm.
love it. They can't
Mm-hmm.
wait to get all the
Mm-hmm.
decorations and spend
Me,
all the
me, me, me,
money
me.
they don't have and all of that great stuff.
Yeah, I
But
mean, yeah, I ain't got no money, but all
but
the things are going up. All the things are going up, and I told you before, I have like 6 trees that I have accumulated over the year, and some years I put up all 6 trees in various nooks and crannies and places in my house, and
Mhm.
my kids and my grandkids, they tell me I'm like overdoing it, but I love Christmas, not just for Christmas, not just for the aspect of the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that good stuff. And so grateful, to Christ for all that He's done for us. But I also love it because even it seems like even the meanest people are nicer around the holidays.
I would agree with that. That is
Mhm.
absolutely true. It does. I mean, it tends to put people in a good place. It's
Yes,
just, what does that song say? The most wonderful time of the
it's
year
the most
for many.
wonderful time of the
But
year.
of course, in
But
life,
for some, it's
we
not.
always have opposites, right?
That's
So
right. For
while
some,
it
it's
can
not.
be the most wonderful time for some people, the holiday season can be the absolute worst time for
Yes.
many, many other people.
Yes. I agree.
Sadness, depression, loneliness, which is a
Holiday
topic
loneliness.
that we have
Mm-hmm.
been tackling and
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be talking more about here today because we don't want you to despair. We want you to understand that there are different strategies, different techniques, different things
Mm-hmm.
that you can
Mm-hmm.
do, to try and push past some of
Yep.
that loneliness during this time of year.
Yep. Yep. I agree. In recent polls, they talk about how 55% people have reported experiencing some loneliness, especially during the holidays. So this accumulative survey that they take, and just think about it, over half of them have experienced loneliness and specific around the holidays. And it's almost like you feel the weight of that throughout the year, but when the holidays come, it's like it sets into despair and depression and grieving, so
Mm-hmm.
many things that has happened, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't seem to get out of the funk when it is the holidays. And some people, not only do they experience that loneliness during the holidays, but
Mm-hmm.
after the holidays are over, some of them cannot recover. They cannot
Mm-hmm.
get out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's interesting what you said about there being, 55%, which is more than
Mm-hmm.
half. And when we did our loneliness episode, we found that there were over half of women, Gen X women, right?
Mm-hmm.
45 to 65. 45 to 65, yes, 45 to 65 experience loneliness. And
Mm-hmm.
when you think about the holidays or you think about Christmas or you think about New Year's, I feel like these are like forgotten people, quite
Yeah.
honestly, because when everywhere you look, it's like, people are excited and they're cheerful and they've got all kinds of like holiday movies and
Mm-hmm.
love
Mm-hmm.
stories and like all kinds of magical things happening and,
Yep.
children receiving all kinds of fancy gifts and,
Yep.
people doing all kinds of great things for other people. And it's just like happy and cheery, and there's this population, like a large population, it's large percent of the population that we don't really acknowledge during this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of
Yep.
we assume that everybody is in a great holiday excited, spending spree spirit,
Yeah,
and that is
absolutely.
not what's happening.
Absolutely. And one of the when they were doing this survey, Kamisha, one of the top three reasons that loneliness is some people, 41% said that they're lonely because they're not around their loved ones. So that maybe they're in the military, or maybe they're working abroad, or they're just not near their
Or
family, or
estranged, there's some people who are
yeah,
estranged.
or estranged. The other 37%, it's seasonal depression, like everything that has happened to them traumatically, PTSD or whatever you would label it, causes them to be more depressed during that season. And then the other one was grief, just grieving lost ones, loved ones. And it doesn't have to be the loss of loved ones that happen within that current year. It could be they're
No.
still grieving from 10 years ago or 5 years
Yeah.
ago, but for some reason during the holidays, whatever their tradition or whatever that person carried for the family throughout the holidays, it really comes to the forefront during the holidays.
Oh yeah, I can see that absolutely, and especially when everyone around you seems like they're having such a great holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
Mm-hmm.
can also kind of add to your feeling of, well, why can't I, feel that way? Why am I not able to experience this kind of joy, joyous season like
Mm-hmm.
everyone else? And I think that can even further kind of push people into, as you say, like a sadness or depression. And you're right, you don't have to have lost a person this year, because so much of our holidays are around family and
Yes.
around friends and
Yes.
around standing traditions, right? So things that you've
Mm-hmm.
done year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter
Mm-hmm.
if the person is alive or not, you're still going to remember, oh, these are things that we used to do, or these are things that
Mm-hmm.
made me happy around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And if that person is not there, no matter what time it is, you're still going to feel that loss, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that person to share your holidays with, which is,
Mm-hmm.
well, what a lot of people really find so joyous about the holidays, right? Is the time you come together with family and friends that you don't always get together with. You may not even see them
That's right.
other times of the year. This
That's
might be
right.
the only time you even see them, right?
Mm-hmm. And
So
and 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 it
it's
affects
tough.
our women over 50 and over 60 the hardest. It hits them the hardest. They call it the holiday blues.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're already suffering with some type of mental illness, no matter how minute or large it is, those holiday blues, so to speak, it it elevates it, it decreases, it triggers it, which
Mm-hmm.
makes it hard for them to scale it back when the
Mm-hmm.
holiday season is over. And
Mm-hmm.
it attacks our women over 50, over 60, over 70. Maybe their loved ones have gone and they're left behind, or whatever the case may be. It's
Yeah.
it's so hard for them to pull themselves up and out of whatever they're in at that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely believe that women would suffer more, because I do find that in a lot of the information that we are learning about women just in general, we suffer more, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In every
Mm-hmm.
way, right? So if there's any study where there's any kind of suffering, you add women onto that and it's going to be at a higher degree. You add black women onto that and it's going to be added even, higher degree.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this a little bit before for black women, where nobody really checks on us,
Mm-mm.
right? So
No.
you may be single and people are thinking, oh my gosh, but she's single and she loves, her life and she's great and she's doing
Mm-hmm.
all of these
Mm-hmm.
wonderful things. But you don't know how the holidays, might
Yeah.
impact her.
Mm-hmm.
And just because a person, seems strong or like looks like they're handling things okay, that doesn't mean that they are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, because of this, a lot of the social imagery of Christmas being such a wonderful time, I don't know that people even think that there are others who are not having a good time, unless it's something like you said that's immediate, right? Like now,
Mm-hmm.
if you knew
Mm-hmm.
someone had just lost a parent or you knew someone had lost a child or something, then you might think, oh, we have to, think about them or check on them. But like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it could be something that happened 15 years ago and they
That's right.
still, every Christmas, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, get
It,
into
it
this dark
get
place.
into that funk. Yeah, I like my grandmother, she was literally the one who would just be doing all the things during the
Mm.
holidays in the kitchen all night. And she had this one specialty dessert that my aunts and my cousins would always request, and it was a homemade caramel cake.
Mm.
And she was the person in the family that would make this caramel cake, no matter how many other people tried to duplicate it or do it. They never came close to the flavors and how she did this cake. And so when she passed, other people try to duplicate it, never mattered, but I just kept working at this cake, kept working at this cake, kept working at this cake until I finally,
Oh, get this cake.
yes, until I finally got it. And one year, one
Mm.
holiday season year, a few years ago, I was in the kitchen and I was making the cake. I finally got it, Kamisha, and the smell of the caramel started going through the house.
Mm.
And for a moment, I felt and reminisced like I was back in that time where I would wake up in the morning and smell that caramel as my grandmother would be in there making it. And the loneliness and the sadness of her not being here, it overwhelmed me almost. It was like a blanket.
Mm.
And although that was a happy occasion, I finally figured out my grandmother's, Big Mama's cake, and it was so good. It was also a reminder that she's not here for me to
Right.
say, hey,
I
girl,
figured out that
I got
cake.
that cake. you know she wasn't here, and it was just like two folds, and my house was full, but I felt alone at that
Mm.
very moment. I felt like I was so alone, and I was standing in the kitchen, doing, over the dishes, over the sink, and I was just weeping, just bawling. And then as my husband would come down the stairs, as my daughter came in, they too, the smell caught them, and they're like, oh my gosh, that smelled like Big Mama's cake, you
Oh,
know and my one daughter walks in and she just starts crying, like boohoo crying.
wow.
Although this was a happy occasion, I got the cake, it triggered it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
can imagine that's the kind of darkness that falls upon you when you are missing someone, and especially around the holidays. And here you have a house full of people, but you still feel in this lonely state of darkness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very, it's just a very very tough time for many people, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we are actually shining light on this, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
could have
Mm-hmm.
used this time to talk about, all the great things that are happening during the holidays, all the
Mm-hmm.
wonderful things, that women can be up to and how they can support their families during the
Mm-hmm.
holidays and take care of others and da da da. Or even just kind of de-stress or something like this. But I think once we found out, how big of a challenge this is, we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't just ignore it and just
Mm-hmm.
move past it
Yeah.
without at least, saying to our community, okay, we want to support you in
Yeah.
this if this is
Yeah.
something that you're going through. And we've had our As We Bloom gratitude journal,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
has been out here now for a little while. But if you are interested in our gratitude journal, because gratitude journals really help you reflect on the positive things that are happening in your life,
Yeah.
we'll have those that linked in the notes. And then also, just for the holidays, we put together the quiet holiday companion,
Mm-hmm.
finding peace when the season feels empty.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for anybody who really is in need of kind of moving out of this space during the holidays and then even after, as you mentioned before, because that can
Absolutely.
also be
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
difficult time, right? There's journal prompts in there, there's emotional skills, and then there's this action plans for you to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of move through the season and beyond. So both of those are available, linked in our notes. And the companion is free. It's absolutely free,
Mm-hmm. It's a free
for
download, free PDF
women,
download.
yes, who are interested, or anybody really,
Mm-hmm.
anybody
Mm-hmm.
who needs it. But I think it's definitely a time of year where we have to kind of pay attention to everyone, right? we
Yes.
we really need to pay attention to everyone. And as I said before, I think some of the reason that people become even more lost is because they're not seen during that time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then maybe they don't even want to bring others down, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have others that
Mm-hmm.
are so excited about Christmas, their favorite holiday,
Mm-hmm.
favorite time of the year. And so then they don't share. They don't share that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm going through something, because they don't want to bring others down, when they are having such a great time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't help either, right? If we
Yep.
are not sharing and letting others know like what's going on with us, then they're not able to, figure out how to support us during this time either.
Mm-hmm. And don't get fooled by those things, because sometimes you see people going overboard for Christmas, and it's actually a mask.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking to my therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going over some traumatic things that happened to me while I was in the military, and it happened around the holidays. And then we
Mm-hmm.
got to talking about what I do for the holidays, how I just go ballistic in the house, like all the six trees and all the stock, and like just
It's like
decorating.
overcompensating, right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And she says to me, she said, it appears as if you're overcompensating for whatever traumatic thing or for whatever grief you had. If you do all the things, then you gotta be happy, right? You
You
gotta
gotta
be
feel
happy. You got
good.
six trees,
Yeah.
you got all these lightings. You have to be happy. So you have to be able to force this happiness on you so you're not triggered. So we also kind of have to take recognition of that part too, that some people are still grieving, but they do all the things to
To
kind of
hide
over
that
to
and
hide
mask
it,
it.
or mask it, for others to look at it and say, oh, she's good, she's good, she
Mm.
got six trees, she got all the lights, she got the
You
reindeers in
got
the
15
yard, she
Santas,
got
right?
the angels, she got Santa on the roof, she's good. But that true circle, that circle who really knows you, that loved one who really knows you, they know that behind those six trees and all those lights, girlfriend is hurting. She's
Mm-hmm.
hurting.
Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't though. Sometimes they don't. I do believe that they're, especially women, I think
Mm-hmm.
that we can hide things like
Oh, very
very
well.
well. We
Very
can
well.
hide them very well.
Mm-hmm.
Men can't always hide things as quite as well as women can. And if you're hiding it, and maybe it is something that happened a long time ago, or it is some kind of trauma that you thought you were over, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people don't want to bring those things up either, because then someone's like, haven't you gotten over that? Wasn't that when you were 5? Didn't that happen when you were a teenager? How can you still? So I think sometimes women don't share it even with people.
Because people are dismissive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they don't know. Or they might just take it for, what they see. Like, oh, she seems to be doing fine. She's out, she's shopping, she's getting all the things, she got her
Mm-hmm.
tree, she, is hosting a Christmas Eve party, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
all of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff. But then in those quiet moments, she's crying. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
She's sad. She's really in a room full of people with all the eggnog and just feeling totally lonely, you know?
Yeah. With all the eggnog, with all of it.
All of it, all the eggnog and all the whiskey that we spike out eggnog with, all the things,
Mm-hmm.
and still not feeling, like everybody else is feeling
Yeah.
during these holidays.
Yeah. So in our research, though, we looked up. We looked at a lot of research, and there's tons. First of all, of valuable, strategies and tips out there that you can find to kind of help you to not alleviate, but kind of help you go through the holiday blues a little better, a
Mhm.
little bit stronger,
Yes.
things that you can do. And we decided to bring, I think 15 of them here
Mm-hmm.
on the show to help our listeners, or to help, our women of a certain age who may find themselves in that space. I mean, this morning I was actually at a place dropping off my grandkids for my daughter, and one of the young ladies that was in there, whose energy and light is larger than life, was diminished this morning. And I noticed it immediately, and I asked her, and she was having holiday blues. I miss my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
lonely without her. I really miss her. And she made the statement that people feel like I should have gotten over it by now. I've grown up and I shouldn't have gotten. But
This is what
no
I'm
one,
saying.
no
Dismissive.
one has the right to dismiss this, because everyone's timing is different. It is different. We are not built to get over loss. We
Mm-hmm.
learn how to replace that feeling with memories of happiness, and memories of wanting, of hope. You know what I mean? But you don't
Mm-hmm.
get over it. You don't just move on because time passed. It just doesn't happen. So
Well, we were talking about this too, my son and I. This is kind of another aside, but I think it's relevant. And he said, Mom, I don't think I believe that phrase that time heals all
oh my
things.
gosh, she said the same
And
exact
I
word.
said, it doesn't. I said, how can time heal? Like the only way that time is going to heal anything is if you take that time to start your
Mm,
healing, right?
yeah.
But people don't do that. They just assume, oh, it's been 5 years. And what have you done to,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of things have you done to kind of move yourself through? And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not even getting over. Also, again, that's just not the way. If you care about a person and you've loved a person your whole life, you're
Mm.
just gonna move on. No, you don't just
Yeah.
move on. You
Yeah.
figure, like you said, you figure out ways how to cope and deal with
Mm-hmm.
it, and maybe some
Mm-hmm.
healthy strategies,
Mm-hmm.
like we're gonna, share here, of how you can continue to move on
Mm-hmm.
and live your life.
In a celebratory way that
Right.
still honors them.
Right. But it's
Yeah.
not as though it's just gonna like heal you, you'll be fine, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll be it. And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes that's, again, like we said, why people don't, share. They're like,
Yeah.
people don't understand. They don't
Yeah.
think people are gonna understand.
Especially black women, and especially older women,
Mm-hmm.
over 50, over 60. First of all, we as we age, we appear to become invisible anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then when we share things, it's like, you're too old to be even feeling like that. Like, you grown. Why you? Because I'm human first.
Especially the generation before us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want
Mm-hmm.
to hear about all of that because I guess they
Mm-mm.
had so many trials and tribulations.
Mm-mm.
They're like, I don't even understand why we still talking about this.
Yeah.
But I also find too that that is a mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
they're telling you like to let it go and move on, then that means they don't have to talk about it. They don't have to deal with it, right? It
Mm-hmm.
could be a family trauma that they've just like, I moved on, you move on.
That's right.
That doesn't
Absolutely.
help. That doesn't help either.
Doesn't help. So our 15 strategies. So one of them is
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to loved ones. So like you said, Kamisha, I said it, if your loved ones understand you, and if they know you, they'll know that you're masking something, and you challenge that by saying, no, they might not. They might not.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
have to reach out to them. Sometimes you have to say, hey, I am not okay. I know I got the
Yeah.
6 trees. I know I got all the angels in the Last Supper sitting up in the yard, and all the bells and whistles, but I'm not okay. I am not
Right.
okay.
Right.
So reach
That's
out,
definitely, yeah.
speak up for yourself, because that is the biggest part of initiating your healing, is don't hide it. I'm not okay.
Right.
I'm
Right.
working. I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting on my clothes. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
the best I can, but I'm not okay.
Right. And how are you going to get the, the support, right, that you need? And
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to be able to grow through this if
Mm-hmm.
you are not reaching out to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so another way, that
Mm-hmm.
another strategy
Mm-hmm.
was having a holiday accountability buddy,
Oh,
right? So
and I love that. I
Right.
love that.
So you're talking, you're telling people, right, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. Maybe it's just one close person. We're not saying
Mm-hmm.
you have to broadcast this from the top of any mountains or anything. But you could have a family member, you could have a friend, maybe a coworker, or even just someone you've connected with in a different way, but you
Yeah,
you have a trust with them, and you're like, this is something I'm going through right now, and I really just need someone to help me be accountable during this time, right? Someone
absolutely.
who can check in on me, someone
Mm-hmm.
who can find out how I'm doing, how things are going. Maybe, we mentioned our quiet companion journal, which
Mm-hmm.
also, gives you some action plans, right? Just to see,
Absolutely.
okay, check in on me, see if I'm following my plan, see how things look, what I'm doing this week, right?
Mhm.
So holiday accountability buddies are also an amazing way to get support.
Yeah. I met this young lady who was telling me her story
Mm-hmm.
about her depression. And her depression and it was a black lady over 50,
Mm-hmm.
and her depression, or at least close to 50, but her depression had sent her down into suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this one lady who wasn't necessarily like her best friend, but this one lady who noticed that she was different, that there was
Mm.
something different about her.
Right.
And she started reaching out to her, like started
Mm-hmm.
calling her,
Mm.
started picking her up and taking her with her to church, or just coming to eat with her, just all these little things. And like this woman consistently did this.
Mm-hmm.
She became her accountability partner without the young lady even asking
Even
her to do
asking
it,
her.
because she noticed that something was wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
that reach, her being that accountability partner, her being there for her consistently, literally was one of the conduits that helped her to come out of that suicidal black hole, that darkness that she was in. And now
Mm-hmm.
she tells her story so she can help other people. She's helped me to come out of, that space that they're in. So that accountability partner, that is amazing, but that person have to be invested in
Mm-hmm.
your well-being, invested in your healing, and consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, aside from the, accountability partner or holiday accountability person, you can also join, a larger group. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you are a spiritual person and you really enjoy prayers and praying for
Mm-hmm.
other people, and you
Mm-hmm.
would like to be a part of a group, right? That has maybe some virtual prayers. If it's like my mother-in-law, they still call on the phone, right? They got their prayer line, right?
Yep.
So joining something like this, or if you are more into maybe meditations, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
join
Mm-hmm.
a meditation group, because especially if you are a person who can tend to, your mind can tend to go to some dark places, then
Mm-hmm.
a meditation group that may help you as well, kind of shift your mind from
Yeah.
where it's been, right?
Yep.
So those are also ways of connection, right? That's really what these are different ways
Mm-hmm.
that you can really just connect with people, kind of one-on-one, or in groups.
Another part of groups, like the one that you were telling me about, a walk and talk group,
Mm-hmm.
a walking group, a holiday walking group. Hey, let's meet in the mall, or let's meet somewhere with it where they have all the festivities up, they got lights up, they got things going, and let's just walk
Mm-hmm.
and talk. Walk and
Mm-hmm.
talk. It doesn't have to be something serious. It doesn't have to be something also deep. Just
Mm-hmm.
getting out, walking and talking together.
Yep.
That was one of
Absolutely.
them.
Yep.
A skill sharing workshop. You find someone who likes the same things that you do. Hey, you like to knit and I like to knit. Let's go to one of these knitting craft workshops together.
Right. Right.
Like finding that affinity group that shares in the same skills, or the same craft, or the same arts that you have,
And
and
you
reaching
mentioned
out
your
to them.
cake too. You mentioned your cake, your grandmom's cake, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I know during the holidays, food is a big thing, right? So maybe there's other people who like baking
Mm-hmm.
cakes, like baking
Mm-hmm.
pies. This was a big thing I know during the COVID times where people couldn't get out and they were virtually
Yeah.
online, like cooking together, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
bring that back around. You can be
Mm-hmm.
baking online. Maybe you may be in a place where you're like, I just can't go out, but I'm home. I can be in my house and we can do something, together virtually. And I
Yeah.
think holiday baking is another wonderful idea as well,
Mm-hmm.
with this, skills sharing under that same kind of
Yes.
skills sharing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
umbrella.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Adopting a family or adopting an elder, like going to the nursing home or something and visiting elderly who are in the deepest of being alone or being lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are there and no one ever, visits them or anything. I can remember when my grandmother was in a living assistant and I would go up there with her probably 3 days a week, go up
Mm-hmm.
there and be with her, sit with her. And if I didn't go, my husband would go,
Mm-hmm.
and she would be in there visiting with other women in there and
Mm-hmm.
would tell me when no one ever comes check on her, or when I'm there she would ask me, hey, can you help her, change her bed, or can you help her do this, or can you help her do that, because no one ever comes to visit her, or no one ever comes to check on her. And so those are the nursing homes and living assistance home. Both my daughters have cared for the elderly for as long as I can remember, and they tell me all the stories about the elderly during the holidays. Is one of the most saddest time, because people just don't visit them, they
No,
forget
they
about them.
they don't. They don't do that. And I had a great aunt who was in an assisted living home, and it wasn't during the holidays, but she was there, and she had a nurse who was just amazing and
Mm-hmm.
just loved her. And she, whenever we would be in town, I would go visit her like every
Mm-hmm.
day that I was
Mm-hmm.
there. She's like, oh my gosh, it's so great that you come every day. We have so many patients and residents here where they are dropped off and no one ever comes back to see them,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
ever. Like they
Yep.
just kind of leave them there and don't come to visit, don't come
Mm-hmm.
to say hello, don't call, right? Don't check
Yep.
on them. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of elders that are just very isolated, right, and just kind
Mm-hmm.
of out there by themselves that could benefit from
Mm-hmm.
somebody
Which
who would be reaching out.
promotes mental challenges like dementia and Alzheimer's, them being alone all the time and depressed. That's one of the data that comes up. It promotes it, like it increases the chances of them going
Mm,
into that stage of them lives.
yeah.
That brings you back to another strategy is volunteering, giving back.
Oh,
You
for
can
sure. Yeah.
volunteer there.
Mm-hmm.
You can give back. I know we used to do, Kamisha, you and I, we used to do a bike drive and a coat drive and a stockings drive,
Stocking, stuffing, yes, 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 yes.
all the drives. And
Collecting sweaters, all the things.
mhm, all these different drives, and I want us to get back into that and put it under the umbrella of Wisdom in Bloom, because these are things that made a difference. I can
Yeah.
remember one time we did the stocking drive and ended up with over 150 stockings for
Mm.
families and children. So I think
Mm-hmm.
volunteering or giving back, sometimes that just helps you to power through
Yes.
what you're going through.
Yes,
Um,
for
and
sure.
in the meantime, the strategy that comes back to that is taking care of your mental health. So while you're giving back, it affords a healing for you. As you're taking care of your mental health, as you're doing something for others, or you giving others hope as you're giving yourself hope. That's another way of another strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. As well as creating new traditions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know, of course, many people grow up with various traditions around the holidays. Some people don't grow up really with very many at all, but there are some that
Mm-hmm.
grow up with traditions. And maybe not just going, with some of the traditions you've grown up with, but just creating a new tradition, right? So you're
Yeah.
not constantly thinking about, oh, we used to do this,
Yeah.
we used to
Oh,
do this as a family.
yeah.
That's one of the things. It's like, no, start your own traditions.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
things did you not do that you thought, oh, it would be fun if we
Mm-hmm.
did something like this? I have
Mm-hmm.
a good friend of mine who every year with her, she doesn't have any children, but she's like an auntie. And so with her niece, like she bakes cookies. She's been
Yeah.
baking cookies with this
Mm-hmm.
girl since she was like 3. She's like 20 something now, and they still bake cookies.
Yeah.
But that's a new tradition she started. She didn't have her own children that she had,
Mm-hmm.
did this with, but
Mm-hmm.
she started this tradition with that girl. So, and it doesn't have to be baking cookies, but just starting something that's meaningful to you, where you can now look forward to your own traditions instead of kind of living, in the past of like old traditions all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if you did live in those old traditions, you could take your new traditions and couple them with some
Mm-hmm.
of the old traditions and blend them. And
Mm-hmm.
you can have your own beautiful set of traditions, set of holiday spirit, so to speak. And that would help you too. And it may even help others who might be going through the same thing in your family that you are going
Yeah.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is planning ahead. Just plan
Mm-hmm.
ahead. Like take that time to that time that you are not so busy or you're feeling like you're going down into this dark place to read some books,
Mm-hmm.
plan a vacation, plan a
Mm-hmm.
trip,
Mm-hmm.
start a new hobby, do
Mm-hmm.
something that you wouldn't normally do, get comfortable in some uncomfortable situations that you said, I always wanted to try this, and you held yourself back from trying it. I'm one of those people. You're paralyzing yourself, paralyzing yourself from getting out there and doing it.
Yeah.
Try that, do something new in that way. And
Well,
in that same,
also, yeah,
go ahead.
also too, like having something to look forward to matters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Having something to look forward to. And I know, even just for myself personally, I don't get into those, dark spaces during the holidays, but I do like to travel. I do
Mm-hmm.
like to, leave where I live and have other places that I'm going. And if there's been a time where there's months and I don't have a place that I'm planning to go, or I don't have a place that I even like on the calendar to go, like
Mm-hmm.
I can start to kind of get a little bit down, you
Yeah.
know, because I also like to not just live in the present, of course, but have things to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have something that you're looking forward to, it kind of helps push you through some of those tougher times.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, this is so bad, you're like, oh, but in a couple of weeks, I'll be in
I got
Miami,
something
or
I'm
yeah, right.
doing.
Soon I'll be in Bali, or wherever it is that you want to go. But having something to look forward to, is so important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That can also help you with your self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Having something to look forward to. Go away, book you a spa treatment. Go book that massage that you have been putting off all year. Go
Mm-hmm.
go get you a spa pass that you'll have to be there for 4 or 5 hours that day that you have been putting off all year long.
Right.
Really, really look inward and take care of you. That's a
Mm-hmm.
great opportunity. Go join that social group that
Mm-hmm.
you always thought about. Let's go
Mm-hmm.
join that group. Let's go do this event. Let's go to this charity run. Let's go to this charity event. Things that you've been putting off all year that you now can focus on because you got a little time off on the holidays and you don't want to sit in that
Mm-hmm.
loneliness or sit in that holidays blues is one of a great thing to do as well.
Yeah. And we can't forget those pet lovers out there. If you are a
Mm-hmm.
person who loves pets, if you are a person who loves animals, what about considering, fostering an animal? What
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
adopting a pet, during
Mm-hmm.
the holidays? You may, need to take one on completely, but even fostering a pet can really just lift your spirits, right? There's
Yeah.
something about animals, whether it's cats or whether it's dogs or whatever it is you're into, hamsters, I don't really know, but they just bring a lot of comfort to people, right?
Yeah.
Because of just how joyful they can be just
Yeah.
seeing you, you
Yeah.
come in the door and it's just really giddy.
Yeah.
So think, if you're a pet person or a pet lover, think about maybe fostering an animal or just bringing a new animal into your home as
And
well.
they are so loving. They are so loving, and animals are so in tune with your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Dog. We over the years, and I wasn't always a dog lover, but as a kid, I had dogs, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went a long lifespan of not having dogs. And then we inherited my mother-in-law's dog who was in foster care. And I'm
Mm.
telling you, and since then we've, had two or three, but it they they are connected. They know that's when something is wrong. They know when your spirit is down, and they'll be the first one to come up on you, nudge you, want to lay next to you, want to, get you, out of that funk. So if you are a animal lover, a pet lover, and you're going through despair, go get a pet. Go foster a
Mm-hmm.
pet. I'm telling you, they know and they understand way more than what we give them credit of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Did we hit all 15 strategies,
No, I
lady?
think there was two more. Therapy. Consider therapy. Support
Mm-hmm.
groups. You
Mm-hmm.
know, reach out to those support groups. Facebook sometimes have some great support groups. If you're not one to want to go sit in a room or go be,
Mm-hmm.
in person, you literally can go out on Facebook, and there are some amazing groups, social groups out there. Women over 40, women who love Christmas over 40. All type of groups out there that you can reach out and connect with. And of course, as you talked about earlier, Kamisha, focusing on gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
That's our last one.
Okay.
Focusing on gratitude.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
check out our gratitude journal, guys, on Amazon. As You Bloom. It is a beautifully crafted journal that prompts you to focus on gratitude with beautiful mantras, affirmations, a 12-month gratitude a guided prompt. I mean, you can share, you can write, your deepest thoughts in it, your kindness, all the things that you're thinking about in our journal as you bloom. And we also have another book out there called Bloom With. And this one is just a notebook for you to get and write all your deepest thoughts, or if you want to take it to a meeting with you. It's beautiful, and it tells you all the things that you can bloom with love, bloom with kindness, bloom with gratitude. So, and of course, Kamisha, the PDF, the digital PDF that will be given to them for free, what was
Yes.
the name of that?
The Quiet Holiday Companion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Finding peace when the season feels empty.
Finding peace when the season feels empty. Ladies, we
Mm-hmm.
got to find our peace, and we
I
have to
know.
protect it. We have
Mm-hmm.
to protect our peace. So
Yes.
thank you. This has
Yes.
been great.
Yes. Yes.
15 strategies on how to find that peace and to find yourself and dig yourself out of those holiday blues.
Absolutely. We hope you take advantage of at least one of them, if not
Mm-hmm.
more than one, because, the season goes on. As we said, there's many
Mm-hmm.
weeks, many weeks,
Yes.
many days in there that you could use, the support. And even after the holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are
Mm-hmm.
still in a place where you're like, I don't know, I'm still kind of in this holiday slump period,
Yeah.
try one of the, at least one of the strategies and
Yeah.
see what they do, and then let us know, right? if you
Yes,
if you try one
please.
of the strategies, let us know. Send us an email, send us, put a comment, right? Leave us a
Mm-hmm.
comment and let
Mm-hmm.
us
Mm-hmm.
know if you've tried one of the
Yep.
strategies or thinking about trying one of the strategies. That would
Mm-hmm.
be amazing. And maybe you are not a person who is having a challenge with loneliness during the
But you
holidays,
know
but you
somebody
know
who is.
someone who
Mm-hmm.
is. Just
Mm-hmm.
share, right? Share this episode with them, and help them to, understand that there's things that they can do during this time of year that might be,
Absolutely.
helpful
Absolutely.
to them.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, you guys. All of this information will be in our show notes. And until next time, keep blooming, ladies.
Keep blooming,
Yeah.
ladies.